For a species so obsessed with its own intelligence, it's frankly embarrassing how much time we spend hallucinating. Our most celebrated cognitive tool, the very engine of progress, is the same one that convinces us there's a monster under the bed, that our boss hates us because of an email's punctuation, and that investing in cryptocurrency is a sound financial plan. We call it imagination, a polite term for a brain function that spends 90% of its time rehearsing arguments in the shower and the other 10% inventing gods and string theory. Most animals are perfectly content experiencing reality as it is. We, on the other hand, evolved a fantastically expensive neural apparatus dedicated to fabricating realities that don't exist, a trait that should have been an evolutionary dead end. Instead of focusing on finding the next meal, our ancestors were apparently busy imagining a better spear, or perhaps just a spear with a cooler name. This profound inefficiency is the central mystery. Why did natural selection, the universe's most ruthless accountant, sign off on a feature that seems more geared toward producing anxiety and bad poetry than ensuring survival? The answer isn't just in our large brains. It's buried in a far more subtle and, frankly, bizarre anatomical compromise our ancestors made. A change so counterintuitive, it almost killed us before it made us dominant. We'll get to that. First, we need to understand the world without it. 2 million years ago, our ancestor, Homo habilis, was not a creature of grand visions. It was a glorified scavenger with a rock. Its innovation, the Oldowan chopper, was revolutionary, but it was also a one-hit wonder. For nearly 1 million years, the tool barely changed. This wasn't a failure of creativity, it was a lack of the necessary hardware. The habilis brain could see a problem, a carcass that needed butchering, and apply a direct solution. See rock, smash bone, get marrow. There was no what if. What if the rock were sharper? What if it had a handle? These questions were neurologically impossible. The process was purely associative, linking an existing object to an immediate task. Imagination requires something more: mental time travel. It demands the ability to decouple from the present, to simulate a future that has not yet occurred, and to manipulate objects that exist only in the mind's eye. This is called prospection, and early hominids were terrible at it. Their world was brutally literal. Survival depended on reacting to the now, not daydreaming about the tomorrow. This is the baseline, the default state for life on Earth. So what broke? The shift began with Homo erectus and the Acheulean hand axe. Suddenly, the rock wasn't just a tool, it was a concept. Symmetrical, standardized, and far more complex to create, it required a mental template, a preconceived idea of the final form. This was the first flicker. The brain was beginning to see not just what is, but what could be. The leap from a basic chopper to a symmetrical hand axe wasn't just about better craftsmanship. It was a complete rewiring of the hominid brain, driven by a network that neuroscientists call the default mode network, or DMN. This is the brain's idling engine. When you're not focused on an immediate task, not fighting a predator, not eating, not running, the DMN fires up. It's the neural architecture of daydreaming, of remembering the past, and most critically, of simulating the future. For Homo erectus, a larger brain and a more complex social structure meant more downtime. And in that downtime, the DMN began to hum. It started connecting disparate memories, running hypothetical scenarios, and holding abstract templates in working memory. Crafting a hand axe required envisioning the finished product hidden inside the raw stone, planning a sequence of strikes, and adjusting the plan based on unexpected fractures. This is computationally expensive. It requires a brain that can afford to burn calories on something other than immediate survival. The DMN is what allows you to wonder, what happens if I hit the rock this way instead of that way? It's the neurological seat of the counterfactual. This emergent ability to simulate reality was the single greatest cognitive upgrade in history, allowing our ancestors to problem-solve offline, to innovate and plan without the potentially fatal consequences of trial and error. It was the birth of foresight, the ability to mentally live in the future, but it came with a terrible price: the birth of anxiety. The DMN doesn't just simulate how to make a better spear. It also simulates all the ways you could fail. It simulates social rejection, resource scarcity, and your own mortality. It's the voice that asks, what if the hunt fails? What if the neighboring tribe attacks? What if that rustling in the bushes is a leopard? This is the anatomical compromise I mentioned. The very system that let us plan for a better future also chained us to 1,000 imagined ones, most of them catastrophic. This is where language became the killer app. Language is not primarily for communication, it's for thinking. It provides the symbols, words, to label and manipulate abstract concepts. With language, you could not only imagine a new tool, you could name it, describe it to others, and collaboratively refine the idea. You could turn a vague internal simulation into a shared collective hallucination. This is the foundation of culture, of myth, of religion. We could now tell stories, and stories are just simulations of reality with a narrative structure. We could create shared fictions. Our tribe is protected by the great eagle spirit, or this piece of paper is worth 10 bushels of wheat. These shared fictions allowed for unprecedented cooperation. Suddenly, you could get thousands of unrelated individuals to work together toward a common imagined goal, like building a pyramid or a nation-state. Chimpanzees can't do this. They live in the tangible world. We live in the story. Our reality is a consensus, built on layers of shared imagination. This brings us to the final absurd twist. The anatomical change that supercharged this entire process wasn't in the brain at all. It was in the throat. The descent of the larynx, which gave Homo sapiens an unparalleled vocal range for complex speech, came at a ridiculous cost. It made us dramatically more likely to choke to death. No other primate has this problem. For them, the pathways for breathing and swallowing are safely separated. For us, they cross, a design flaw of catastrophic proportions. Natural selection should have eliminated this trait immediately. A creature that can choke on its own food is not a creature built for long-term success. But the benefits of the complex language this new anatomy enabled were so immense that they outweighed the constant daily risk of sudden, stupid death. Our powerful imagination, our ability to build civilizations and ponder the cosmos is a direct consequence of a near-fatal plumbing issue in our necks. The ability to create shared fictions, to organize, plan, and dominate the planet was worth the trade-off. We became the animal that could talk itself into anything, from believing in invisible gods to building nuclear weapons. Our greatest strength isn't intelligence or brawn, it's our capacity for collective, weaponized delusion, all thanks to a design flaw that should have wiped us out. The monster under the bed is a small price to pay for the stars.